Welcome back. Today's lesson is simplifying rational expressions. So let's look at some different examples. This first example, you're actually just going to be using the same idea that you use when you're using exponent rules, because there's no plus, minus, there's nothing to factor. So in this case, I'm going to start with my numbers and I'm going to simplify them in fraction form the same way you would have back in middle school or elementary. So 15 and 30 are both divisible by 15, so this will become 1 and this will become 2. 2 times it goes in. As for your ends, you have 1 n here and you have 3 n's here. Now what happens is, I'm going to erase this little 3 because n to the third is the same as n times n times n, right? So what happens is one of these n's cancels. From there, we're ready to write our final answer. So on top, we just have that 1, which you always need something on top. So if you have nothing else, it's a 1. And then on the bottom, we've got 2 and we've got n squared. So if you just have a monomial over a monomial, that's what you're going to do. You're going to use your exponent rules. For anything else, you're going to want to factor. Remember, I told you factoring was never going to go away? I meant it. You're going to have to factor throughout this course. So if you're still not confident on your factoring, please go back to those videos or seek help from your teacher. Okay? All right, so factoring. X plus 6 doesn't factor because it's just a binomial, but this one I can factor. Negative 6, positive 5. That's going to be a positive 6 and a negative 1. So I'm going to rewrite this. The x plus 6 on the top will stay the way it was, but on the bottom I'm going to have x plus 6 and then x minus 1. So what we're looking for is we're looking for any factors that are the same. Okay, now this is what's really important. You need to understand you cannot cancel anything that has, like, if it's just one thing plus another thing, you can't cancel part of it, okay? So the factor is the whole x plus 6 matches the whole x plus 6. So in this case, when I go to write my answer, this is kind of what I was saying over here in terms of, wait a minute, there's nothing left on top. Well, if there's nothing left, it's a 1. Because when you divided it out, you got 1. Okay. All right, and then on the bottom, you're left with x minus 1. This is the simplified form of this rational expression. Okay. All right, so I think we should do some more examples and just make sure that you've got the right idea. As I'm doing these, I suggest that you pause and try them on your own just to see if you're keeping up, if you're getting the right answer, because if you're not, then you've really got to listen carefully to the examples. But if you're already understanding it, then you can kind of speed to the answer and make sure that you've got it right and go from there. Okay? All right, so this is a trinomial over a trinomial, so I'm going to go ahead and factor both of these. This first one, I want to know what multiplies to negative 30 but adds up to negative 7. And so when I'm thinking of 30, I've got 1 and 30, I've got 2 and 15, I've got 3 and 10. Ding, 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 3 and 10. Okay, 3 and 10 can make 7 if I've got one that's negative. So in this case, I need more negatives, so I'll have negative 10 and positive 3. So my top will just be x minus 10 and x plus 3. All right, for the bottom, I need to know what multiplies to negative 24 and adds up to negative 5. In this case, I'm pretty sure it's going to be 8 and 3, so I need more negatives, so negative 8 and positive 3. So down below, I'll have x minus 8 and x plus 3. So again, we're looking for an entire factor that cancels. So you'll notice that x plus 3 is on the top and on the bottom, so those can cancel the final answer for this one is just x minus 10 over x minus 8. All right, let's do another one. Let's do this one. 2v squared plus 10v minus 48 over 8v plus 64. All right, so I'm getting ready to factor, and I always wish this was a 1. So when I look at this, I'm going to do greatest common factor first, and that's going to help me out tremendously because it will make the leading coefficient 1. So first of all three of these things, they're divisible by 2, so I'm going to put the 2 out in front. I'm left with v squared plus 5v minus 24. That's what I'll need to factor. Now, I can go ahead and do the bottom at the same time. This one, it's not a quadratic. So what we're going to need to do is we're just going to do common factor. And in this particular case, they're both divisible by 8. So I've got 8 outside, v plus 8 inside. All right, so for my factoring of trinomial, I need to figure out what multiplies to negative 24 but adds up to 5. Very similar to this problem, but this one was negative 5. So in this case, I'll have positive 8 and negative 3. So the 2 stays there, but now I have x, not x, v, plus 8. Did you see me do that? I switched from v to x. Sorry about that. Same idea. V minus 3 over here, and then on the bottom, 8, v plus 8. All right, so let's look at what cancels. Probably all of you are right away saying v plus 8 cancels, but there's something else that cancels too. Do you see what it is? The 2 and the 8 can simplify. So 2 goes into 2 one time, and it goes into 8 4 times. So my final answer, on top I'm left with the v minus 3, and on the bottom I'm left with just 4. All right, I think that's probably enough examples, but let me give you one more for good measure. And then I'm going to give you a non-example. All right, so this one, again, we're going to do factoring the trinomial on top, negative 28, positive 3. So that's going to be positive 7 and negative 4. So I have b plus 7, b minus 4. This is difference of two squares. Hopefully you recognize that right away. If not, you need to watch that lesson again. So this is b plus 7, b minus 7. And it should be that fast in your mind, okay? Otherwise you need to study. So b plus 7's cancel. You're left with b minus 4 over b minus 7. Final answer. All right, so let me show you what kids try to do every single year that drives your math teacher absolutely crazy. Non-example. This is not what you should do. I'm going to cross it out after I do it, okay? Every year, x squared plus 3x minus 7 over okay, every year, here's what a student does. X squared and x squared match. Let's cross them off. Those are not factors. You cannot cancel them. Factor means that it's being multiplied. So like this whole thing was being multiplied, so it was okay that I crossed it off. But this x squared, it is not being multiplied. It is not a factor. You cannot cancel these. Students try to write that the answer is 3x minus 7 over 2x minus 8. That is so incorrect, okay? It means that you're not quite there yet. So please, please, please do not make this mistake. This is really bad, okay? All right, end of the video. Have a good night.